What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you've all enjoyed your weekends so far. We're back at it again with a little bit of Fernbus. Now, I've been quite reluctant, in fact, to stream this to... oh, look, there's a floating hay bale. Is it floating? I don't know. But yeah, I've been kind of reluctant to essentially stream this and or make a video on it. Because I wanted to give it a little bit of time. Of course, as we all know, this game has recently been released, ported over to console, and I think it's a bit 50-50. Now, of course, the purpose of this stream, it's not to sit here and bash the game. It's not to sit here and criticize it to the point of where, you know, true sort of feelings and thoughts come out. It's more to do with the fact of giving a space where you guys can come in and generally sort of go over the things which you like about it, the things you don't like about it. You know, we'll change it up, kind of get a bit of a variety of the things that it's done right, the things that it's done wrong, and of course the things that it could be, you know, can be improved upon. Now, you know, we've got a patch which has just been submitted this weekend to Microsoft and Sony, so the things which a lot of people have been experiencing hopefully get fixed in this patch. Now, as we know, the reputation of where it came from Tourist Bus, this company have not been very good with their communication or their updates in terms of how regular they push them out. But like I said, in this stream, I just want to kind of go over a few things which have caught my attention. And of course, anybody that's been watching the channel up until this point, you kind of know where I stand with it. So of course, just remember, this is my opinion in some cases, and we're going to kind of just go over a few things of you know, the things which they said was going to be included, and of course haven't quite made it there yet to the console version. But like I say, guys, without further ado, I've got a nice little route set up. I'm in the Man's Line Coach 2nd Gen, in a beautiful red. There's one thing that I do like is the you know, the liveries that you do get for the buses. It's a shame that there aren't more buses. I feel that maybe could add some substance to, of course, you know, the experience. If you like your bus driving and things like that, then of course being able to drive in your favourite buses makes the experience all worthwhile. But yeah, like I say, guys, we're going to start it up, get the journey going, and we'll kind of go from there. So, of course, this port was heavily anticipated. It's something that a lot of people have been asking for a very, very long time, and in the console perspective, as we all know, there aren't very many busing simulators, well, just simulators in general, I would say. Whether it be busing, trucking, stuff like that, for console, the market is pretty lackluster, and I do wish that they would, more companies, more developers would kind of take advantage of that space. But you know, as for console players, you kind of got to take what you can get, really. Now, from what I've seen for the console port, it's not come over in, I would say, a very great way. It kind of reminds me a little bit of you know, Tourist Bus and some of the bugs which were experienced through Tourist Bus right at the beginning. Of course, this, you know, it is early doors. You know, we've got to give them some sort of slack and leeway to obviously put these things right. So yeah, the breathing room for that, it can be accepted up until a point. But yeah, I mean, we'll go over the pros first. We'll go over the pros first and see what they've done well. So of course, graphically, for the PS5 and the Series X and the S, actually, it doesn't look too bad. Of course, there are a few things that they've kind of got to work out the kinks. They've got to kind of work out like the frame rate for the Series S. That is something as well that we will touch upon. I'm sure there'll be a few of you that that really want to discuss that side of things. But let's check everybody in anyway.
Ich bin hier richtig.
Ba ba ba.
Auf geht's.
Amazing.
Salut. Ich hoffe, ich bin sehr freundlich.
God, there are so many passengers, you know, all this space, and they all stand together, clustered.
Hallo, mein Ticket? Vielen Dank.
Okay.
Mahlzeit. Ist das gültig? Danke.
Hallo, ich hoffe, ich bin hier richtig. Sehr freundlich.
Amazing stuff.
Grüezi.
Right,
Hier
let's
ist Danke.
get these all
Grüezi.
on board,
Hier ist
and
mein
then we can have a
Hallo,
proper
bitte,
chat.
Dankeschön.
Hallo, hier mein Ticket. Dankeschön.
Hello. Hier ist mein Ticket. Danke sehr.
Servus.
You're welcome.
Ich hoffe, auf geht's.
Hi. Das Ticket. Bitteschön. Auf geht's.
Okay.
Hi.
I wish,
Soweit
like I
auf
said, I
geht's.
wish they weren't so all clustered.
Grüezi, mein Ticket. Vielen Dank.
Okay, right, let's close that. How's it going, G-Song, mate? Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Right, let's get this this bus moving, shall we? Right. You're working. Beautiful. Now, of course, like I say, the console port, graphically, it doesn't look too bad. It does hold up. I give them credit for that. You know, they have definitely made use of the hardware which has been available to them. But for me, visually, there's more to it than just visuals. When it comes to, obviously, simulations games in general, especially driving sims anyway, you want to have the best wheel support. You know, you can have you generally want to be able to use your wheels and things like this. Now, I'm aware that there's no forced feedback at the moment for steering wheels, which has been quite a bit of a, for me, that was generally a big concern. Generally down to the fact of, like, you know, being able to essentially feel the bus as you're driving. It definitely adds to the immersiveness, to the experience of the game, you know. I mean, you wouldn't want to use a controller for it, you know. With games like this, especially. Right, let's have a look. But for this is what I'm saying. For my general verdict on the console port, I definitely feel that it was kind of hyped up to a point. There were a few things which weren't mentioned, and of course the issues which reside within the game are slowly becoming more and more apparent. Now, if you cast your mind back to, obviously, Tourist Bus, you know, Tourist Bus had very similar similar problems, which, yes, of course, they were ironed out. Quite a few of the visual ones, I mean, we're talking, you know, people falling through the map. There are certain areas on the map where people just, you know, float in the sky. You know, there's definitely some bad spots within the map, that is for sure. Not only that, but of course the menu systems and things, they're not quite working as flawlessly as what they should. So the best way that I can basically describe it is more so everything that you kind of experience with Tourist Bus generally reside within Fernbus. You know, they have done a better job this time round, but the things, in my opinion, that, you know, you would have thought they would have learned from the first case, you know, they haven't quite got there yet with this. So I wouldn't really see it as anything revolutionary. I think that a lot of the stuff have been copied and pasted, and a lot of the issues which obviously do reside within the buses, GPSs and all that sort of stuff, those issues still persist. Not only that, but if anybody here plays the Series S version, there have been some serious reports of frame rate drops, and That's usually sort of like in the more built up areas, which is it's just going to be expected anyway, isn't it? I mean, they definitely haven't utilised the console's full potential, so of course there are going to be a few 50-50 up and down moments for the Series S, unfortunately. Paris looks damn realistic. Yeah, man, absolutely. How's it going, Mr. Water? Welcome in, Munchies. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Mr. Water. So when I first started this stream, I did cover that for the patch. I believe they said that it was submitted. Well, will be submitted this weekend if it hasn't already. So, like I say, a lot of the things which are generally wrong at the moment, I would hope, you know, are fixed within that patch. You know, as for, like I say, the steering wheels with no force feedback and stuff like that, you guys will have to let me know what you think of it. You know, like I said at the beginning, I'm not going to sit here and criticise the game to high heaven, because, like I said, people know where I stand with the game. But if you talk from a price point, from obviously for consoles, you know, you're getting all the DLC for free, so that is a bonus. But of course, if they don't manage to get the more predominant issues sorted out, then all of that stuff doesn't really matter. You know, if you can't get force feedback for your wheel, or you can't get support for your wheel, you know, and you can't enjoy the game, then it kind of makes all the bells and whistles kind of pointless at that, because you can't enjoy it to its full potential, especially if you know, you bought the game anticipating for your wheel to work and then find out that it doesn't. Can be a bit disheartening for a few people. Definitely going to buy this game. Nice one, G-Song. I don't know about console, but I did this on PC, play it every day. It's near enough 60. Yeah, that's it. So, you know, like I've said before, it depends on your expectations of what you know, what you want from a busing sim. You know, like we've said before, it is early doors, and for what they've managed to achieve in terms of visual quality for, you know, for the next gen consoles, you know, they've done a darn sight better job this time round, I would say, than what they've done with Tourist Bus. Now, that doesn't mean to say that it's a complete package. Doesn't mean to say that the game runs flawlessly. You know, there are, of course, issues which a lot of people are experiencing. Some of them are quite comical, actually, but I haven't seen any game-breaking bugs. More so, save data corruption. But of course, this stuff, you know, give it a little bit more time. Fingers crossed that it doesn't crop up. As for the steering wheel support, I feel that that's probably one of the bigger areas which I think they need to focus on. They've never really been good with steering wheel support. You know, anybody that's played TML games, you know that the steering wheel support isn't, well, could you even call it steering wheel support? I guess it's the bare minimum functionality of a steering wheel, you know, which is better than nothing, I suppose. But of course, if you have a fancy wheel and you want that force feedback, that's something I think that should be, you know, a priority for them. And of course, you know, falling through the map is, you know, not acceptable either. You know, I mean, if you're going to be driving routes, the last thing you want to do 3/4 of the way through your journey is to fall through the map. You know, but of course, these things are expected, aren't they? Right, let me catch up with the chat a moment. Yeah, so that's another thing. Very, very valid point there, Munchies. Of course, there are a few bus stops missing as well. Yeah, GPS problems as well. So this is the thing. There are a lot of things which have, of course, transitioned over. You know, with Tourist Bus, we've had GPS issues. We've had things like that. You know, passengers not showing up at stops, that kind of thing. You know, and I just really hope that they manage to to fix it. You know, that would be amazing if they did. It runs impressively on the Series S as well. I have the PC, Series S and PS5 version. Have you got the Unreal Engine 5 beta installed on the PC diesel? So a lot of the stuff. So for the Series S, this is the thing. I'll touch on the Series S for a moment. Now, if you cast your mind back to, of course, Taurus Bus, there were a lot of issues which people were having and some people weren't having. You know, like I said, it was a 50-50 mixed bag. You had some people that were experiencing no problems at all, and then you had people that were getting every single bug under the sun. It seems to be the same case with this one. There's reports of, you know, and there's a lot of information, you know, we can't disregard that. You know, there's a lot of video footage and things which you can look at to support what I'm saying, you know. So it may run flawlessly for some, which is fantastic. You know, if you've got no problems, happy days, you know, continue playing, enjoy it. But for those that are obviously having those problems, it is a bit of a frustration for them. And you know, we're all good at it. You know, if it's not happening to us, it's easy to say it, but when it is happening to us, we want some answers. You know, we want to know when this is going to be updated. We want to know when they're going to address and fix these things, you know, more to the point. And yes, I have Mr. Water. But of course, as it's a beta, there are a lot of things, you know, which are up and down. But either way, right, the way that I look at it, the game in general is not a bad game. For consoles especially, you know, it's easy to sort of accept it for the way that it is if you don't have the luxury of owning a PC. Now, from the PC perspective of things, where you've got such high standard of simulation games which are available, it does make you scratch your head. You know, when you look at the potential of the PC, whether it be this game, whether it be Taurus Bus, for the hardware that you've got, you would expect a darn sight more because there are less restrictions. So from my perspective, and the way that I look at it, you know, they could do an awful lot more with the PC side of it, considering how long ago it actually received an update. And of course, before the game was ported over to console, a lot of those concerns were surrounded from that perspective, that aspect of things, because of how, I would say, the optimization of the game for the PC isn't brilliant, and it's not bad. You know, there is definitely room for improvement. So of course, when you're analyzing it coming over to a console which is, I would say, less capable, if you want to say that, then it definitely rings alarm bells, you know, and that speaks volumes for anybody really that, you know, is a PC simmer. Let's have a look. How's it going, Richard? Welcome in, man. I hope you're doing well. But this is the whole purpose of this stream, is to kind of, you know, get your general thoughts and opinions, you know. Let me know how you're finding Fernbus for console. Is it what you expected? You know, let me know whether if there's anything that you think that could be improved upon, or anything which is really like, you know, you bought it, you know, with the videos and all the things which have been shown, and then it's kind of not lived up to your expectation. You know, these are all the things that I want to hear from you guys to gauge where you are, because of course I've never had a problem with Taurus Bus, I've never had a problem with Fernbus. More so to the point, I've just got a problem with the developers. Of course, that's not the game's fault. You know, the game runs as well as what they put into it at the end of the day. But there are still a few concerns for me when it comes to price point of DLCs, the communication, the updates, the frequent updates, and of course, let's not forget that the state of Tourist Bus, which is obviously been left in, there's not really been much information about that. So it does make you wonder to a degree. It's definitely, I would say, for my expectations for a console port, and I will eat my own words, I will put my hands up, like I said before, to things which I thought were going to happen, and they generally have done a good job visually. That is something that, thumbs up from me. I've got no quarrel with that, but of course there is pop-in, there is things which, of course, falling through the map, force feedback. There are a lot of things that are still left to be desired, and of course, these things haven't quite happened yet with the PC side of it. So to see it come to console, if they manage to work out all the kinks and stuff, I think you've got generally quite a good busing simulator on your hands. In comparison to, of course, things like Bus Simulator 21. There are a lot of comparisons, direct comparisons, people saying that, this game, the console port, is such a buggy mess that I'm going back to, Bus Sim 21 because it's the better one out of the two. And generally speaking, I don't think that you're able to compare the two other than the point that you're driving a bus. They both offer different things, and yet it comes down to your general expectations of what you want from a busing simulator. This is the thing. Grand scheme of it, for the map scale, Fernbus it does a good job. I've always compared it to the Euro truck of busing sims. Being able to create your own routes and things like that. It's a nice touch. Of course, with bus stops not being there and GPS routes not working properly, of course you can't get the full potential out of these things, and that's where the constructive criticism comes from, that's where the passion comes from, and of course that's where people get frustrated, because if these things don't get fixed, then it leaves a void. And a lot of people were skeptical about buying this anyway, so people don't need much of a reason to kind of kick off about it, if that makes any sense. How's the AI traffic on the PC console version comes to a dead stop on the highway? This is it. So Mr. Water has obviously said that things are running smoothly for him, but of course Richard says that things are, the AI traffic come to a complete dead stop on the motorway. So this is what I mean collectively. When I cast my mind back to Tourist Bus, it always really baffled me how you can have the same version of a game, same update, blah blah blah, and then people experience different things. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now, when we did play Tourist Bus, the first thing that I identified straight away was the fact that the first sort of initial steps that you take within that game generally defined what sort of experience you would have later on. Like the more buses you had, everything like that. More so to the point, the more load you put on the game, the more issues arose. Maybe that's a similar case with this one for consoles. Maybe there are a lot of settings, traffic density, all that kind of stuff, general sort of tailoring to oh dear
Blut für den Blutgott, Schädel für den Thron.
Okay, but yeah, general things like that. The overload of a game, it definitely shows its wear and tear, even for the PC side of it. Of course there's still popping, you can still notice it, and if you want to be overcritical about it, you could essentially sit there and nitpick and pick up every minute flaw within the game, and the list really does go on. But for console players, for what you have, it's not going to be a bad sim. I think for a foundation that you have, regarding obviously visual quality, frame rate, all that kind of stuff, if you are experiencing problems, you know, let's just hope that the issues which persist for you get fixed within the patches. And of course, as we're aware, you know, there is an update coming for it. There is you know, a fix in the works. So heck, I even bought OMSI 2, and well, hot trash. I don't recommend it. OMSI 2, I think, is a little bit outdated, absolutely. But I think people play that more so for the gameplay mechanics rather than the actual overall quality itself. How's it going, Patrick? Welcome in. I love Fernbus Sim. I'm doing a 36-hour drive. Wow. Hopefully you have enough breaks in between. Make sure you drink enough. But generally speaking, for a general entry, you know, for console players, you know, and the fact that you get all the DLC as well for free, you can't really complain about it. You know, as much as the reputation shrouds over the head of people like Fabian and obviously TML as well, you know, there's definitely a lot of redemption needed. And this obviously stems back to On the Road and stuff, you know, but that's another topic. But just generally speaking, for what you have, for the console port, it could be improved upon, but it's not a bad entry at the same time, you know. It could be a hell of a lot worse, absolutely. Now, for like I say, the pros, there are always cons, you know, in anything that you play, any game that you play, especially in today's world. You know, all these AAA titles, they're half-baked, they don't come out properly, you know, just performance issues after performance issues, and it just doesn't get, you know, it takes like a year, 2 years for things to be addressed. You know, TML is a small company, you know, and I think they don't do a bad job with the games that they produce. I think what they have a problem with, maybe it's a language barrier, who knows, but sometimes arrogance, abrupt rudeness, you know, asking sort of general questions and getting a generic answer, maybe. You know, there are a lot of things which rub people up the wrong way, you know. But if we strip that back for what, you know, what we feel, how we feel towards particular people within the development or the publishing, for example, you know, then you can enjoy the game for essentially what it is. But you know, that's heavily criticized if they don't fix the problems, if they don't support, maintain and keep these games fresh, you know, in a timely manner. I think that speaks volumes. For me, for my general opinion, the communication has been a little bit better this time round, but of course I don't have very high hopes for swiftness of updates and things being fixed in a timely manner, because of course there are a lot of moving parts. You know, Sony, Microsoft, there are a lot of hoops which they have to jump through to obviously get, you know, these things fixed, you know. But I just hope that they don't treat this one like they did Tourist Bus, because as we know, that game is an absolute headache. The state that game is in at the moment, it is in desperate need of some attention. Of course, we do know that it is coming, you know, Unreal Engine 5 upgrade, all that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, I feel that the time frame, you know, from that port to this port, they really should have sorted that game out first, in my opinion, before porting something else over, you know. But you know, that is my opinion. That is my opinion. Good afternoon. Does anyone know if PS4? So, like I say, Mr. Bobber Django. There's been nothing at the moment. Nothing at the moment. My biggest fear kind of came true, to be honest with you. I feel that, like I said before, this game has definitely, Fernbus has definitely overshadowed Tourist Bus because it's the preferred one out of the two. It's very biased. There are a lot of biased opinions because people, if somebody really likes this game, they're going to swear by it. You know, they're going to be advocates of this. But as you know, for those here on the channel, that's not the way that I do things. You know, I sit here and I analyse things in a lot of depth to kind of give you an honest, I wouldn't say review, but a skeptical look. That's the way that I would word it. Somewhat of a skeptical approach to what we've experienced before compared to what we essentially have now. You know, which I think is a fair thing to do. You know, I mean, of course, I could sit here and absolutely bash it if I wanted to, but you know, you've got to give credit where credit is due. Mr. Fabian said we are supposed to have a patch up by next week. Yeah, so I think they said that it's supposed to be submitted this weekend, but of course that's down to Sony and Microsoft of how swiftly they get these patches out. Yeah. That's the hiccup, and that's the problem with. Oh, look at that, matching beautiful red, but yeah, that's the general problem for console, is that they've got to jump through all those hoops
Fahren Sie in meine
before
Richtung?
they can kind of get.
Guten Tag. Fahren
where
Sie in
they
meine
need to
Richtung?
be.
Auf geht's.
Tag, das Ticket cool.
Yeah, not a problem, Bubba Django. Like I say, the
Bitte, vielen Dank.
moment I've always promised here on the channel that the
Moin,
moment that
das
something
wär
does
freundlich.
come up
Mahlzeit.
for
Ist das gut? Danke sehr.
Tourist Bus, for Fernbus,
Grüezi,
I will always
ist das gut?
I will
Dankeschön.
always cover it. It may not be
Grüezi,
in a
ist
timely
vielen Dank.
manner. I mean, you got to understand, I'm only human. You know what I mean? We all have different opinions. We all view things in different ways. We all have different perspectives. But collectively, if we can come together and put our heads together and say, look, this is what needs to be done. If we can somehow come together as a community to bounce off each other and have different ideas, like we did with Tourist Bus, finding fixes and things like this to obviously issues, and of course supporting each other, that's what gaming is all about. That's what the community should be all about. You know what I mean? There are a lot of gaming reviewers out there, I find and feel, that don't really give you an honest opinion. I feel that they don't really, they kind of kick all the sort of, or hide all of the impurities, all the things that are wrong with a game, and then of course when somebody does buy it, they say, well, you didn't show me this. It falls back on your shoulders, and I'm not interested in that. I will give you my honest opinion whether you like it or not. You know, and that's the style that I've had on the channel since the very beginning. I just say it how it is, because there's no point in beating around the bush. You know, if it's not there, I'm not going to pretend that it's not there. You know, that's just the way it goes. Let's have a look. Yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. Busing simulator anyway. Yeah, for console. You know, you got to take what you can get for console. I've always argued that I wish that more people would grasp the market. There's such a void for simulation, for you know, simulators for console. It's unbelievable. You know. Yeah, Jonathan, bugs will be fixed, absolutely, but I don't doubt that they won't be fixed. It's the time frame in which they are implemented. You know, that is the, you know, and I'm saying this solely from the way that their previous game has been left. You know, can I compare the two? Yes, I can compare the two, because it's the same publisher, same developer, and a lot of things which, you know, were an issue with Tourist Bus in the early days. Some of the issues are within Fernbus as well, so I think that it is fair to make somewhat of a comparison, but of course don't treat it as it's the same game, because it's not in its entirety. The buses are the same, of course. The AI, I would say, are the same as well. I just feel that because the map's a bit bigger, you don't actually experience traffic clusters, and of course you have a traffic slider as well, so you could, there's a lot of things that you can change to tailor your experience. Yes, it does. I completely agree with that, Jonathan. I'm not saying that every title doesn't go through its hiccups, its problems, but I will cast something back to you. Even though that every title has its problems, how many busing simulators, how many console ports do you have to do before you get it right? That's my view on it. You know, we've had a busing sim before, very similar characteristics to Fernbus, you know, and a lot of the issues which we've experienced before, some people, not all, but some people are experiencing now. So, you know, it's not all sunshines and rainbows, you know. There are different views about these things, and of course, when the evidence is in front of you, it's kind of hard to ignore. It is for me anyway. Run into another issue when you take a break and you count the passengers on the bus. The check thing on the phone doesn't work. Yeah, I saw an issue with that too. People were saying just to log out of the phone and log back in, but you know, quite a few people have said that still doesn't work. So that's another thing which you know, it's small, it's minute, it is small, but these are the things, you know, you would at least expect to be right, you know, to at least function properly. You know, not to say that won't be fixed in the upcoming patch, of course, but I really do hope that they give us some patch notes this time round, you know, so we can kind of go into it together rather than having to play it to kind of show what's generally wrong, you know. But it is definitely interesting to say the least. You know, I've got sort of a general sense that, you know, Fernbus was perceived and received in a very positive way, and I'm happy for that. I generally am. The last thing I wanted was the game to come over in such a shoddy mess that it was almost to the point of unplayable. Uninstall, forget about it, play something else. But I'm really happy. I'm glad that people are enjoying Fernbus for console. Absolutely. Yep. So that's a thing Mr. Water just mentioned. Of course, you know, just use a simple resting method. You know, that apparently works for the moment. Thank you for the tip, Mr. Water. For anybody that's experiencing that, try it. See if it works for you, and if it does work, let me know down in the comments section below if you're watching this back. Quite swift traffic light changes this time round. Yeah, Jonathan, this is another thing. Before the console version came out, I kind of did a little bit of a verdict on how I feel
Hey, das war ein
about the
Blitzer.
general environment. And the one thing that I've always struggled with, not even just Fernbus, you know, tourist bus, even on the road as well. I know it's not the same developer, but you know, the as beautiful as the game may look, it doesn't feel very lived in. Dynamically, for immersiveness, you know, to actually see and feel like the world, the map is being lived in, would be fantastic. But then that poses issues all on its own, you know, performance, adding more stress, you know, anything at this point that they add, if they do decide to add any future DLC or content to this game, then it has to be properly tested. And you know, in the past, they haven't been very renowned for testing things. You know, like in my opinion, for tourist bus, some of the buses, you know, are ridiculous when driving around that island, Absolutely ridiculous. It's almost as if the buses weren't tested properly to fit on the roads that they're driving on. Anybody that's played Tourist Bus will know that. It's very finicky, you know, and when you try and move, the AI fill the gap, so you're stuck. You know, you take all their wheelie bins out and smash into cars and take signs out and stuff, you know, it's quite brutal, isn't it? But if you stop at a rest stop as well, simple resting, instead of resting anywhere, you get an extra 10 XP. Yeah, that's quite a cool element, you know, being able to just you know, be rewarded for doing things a more conventional way. You know, that's definitely cool. Yeah, the roads are way too tight. Absolutely. But this is what I mean. That's what I mean. There are pros and cons to absolutely everything within a game, whatever title that you play. You know, if you're, there are, and I mean, there are some people out there that will despise anything that is said or comes from TML or Fabian, just simply down to the way that they've been burned in the past. Especially with Fabian on the road, you know, the way that was handled, poof, it's definitely not helped him with Tourist Bus and Fernbus, that is for sure. You know, but it's a hard one, isn't it? It's a hard one to gauge. It is a shot at redemption for him. You know, if he responds and gives people constructive advice and things and keeps us informed, you know, about updates and stuff. Like, I don't want to hear excuses and, oh, it'll be in the next update, we're working on it, we'll tell the team, blah blah blah, because they're just generic things to keep you quiet, to keep you happy. You know, we want some meat on the bones. Look guys, this is what we're doing, this will be happening, the estimated time frame for this, you know, it could be then, but if not, we will let you know. Just basic communication from it. And it will pay off so much for him and for TML, as long as they keep people in the loop and keep people informed about the things which they are doing. And at the moment, they seem to be doing that. So hats off to them. If it continues, you know, then we could be in for generally a nice experience. Of course, there's going to be hiccups. What game doesn't have a hiccup? But it's how they respond to it, essentially. That's what we've got to look at. As much as we may like this game, as much as we might ignore those things as trivial or anything like that, the longer this goes on, the more issues will arise. With any game you play, that generally is the sense, you know, and we will be able to gauge how they respond and of course the manner in which they bring their updates out. If they listen to us, of course, you know, that's more important than anything I can think of. Let's have a look. Let's have a pause a moment, actually. On the road due to the patch update, Fabian said end of February to mid-March. Well, there you go, guys. So if you're watching this and you're interested in on the road still, you know, then you've got, you know, end of February to mid-March for a next update. As to what the roads are wider on Fernbus than what they are in Tourist Bus. Yeah, they definitely are. Absolutely. Only play this now. I have every bus and truck sim. Oh, nice one, Jonathan. Nice one. What's your favourite simulator that you play? For me, it has to be Euro Truck. Euro Truck Sim 2 has to be my favourite simulator, not only for the fact that you get to drive trucks, but at the same time you can drive normal cars and buses as well. So you get the luxury of driving around Europe and different countries and stuff, you know, in your favourite buses. That's what I love about that game so much. Yeah. And of course, if anybody is interested, a little bit later on, probably this evening, I will be doing exactly that. So Be nice to see you all there. And of course, for this game as well, you know, feel free to comment down in the section below your verdict on this for consoles. You know, let me know what problems you're having, you know, and of course there is always a Discord, which I will provide the link in the description if you are interested in joining that. But generally speaking, for a console port, it's not too bad, is it, really? You know, even though we don't have force feedback, I'm not too sure if all the wheels are supported either. That'd be something that maybe you guys could let me know if you have a wheel that doesn't work, to let me know down in the comments section. That way we can kind of help other people as well. I think that would be extremely beneficial for the community. I feel more so with these Facebook groups, there seems to be a lot more negative people that reside within those groups, and more to the point, the way that I look at it is that if you don't like it, if you don't like Fernbus, Tourist Bus, if you don't like the style that they do their games in, then just keep your comments to yourself and of course you can have an opinion, but if you're just gonna assassinate it, then, you know, keep your comments to yourself and just allow those that do enjoy the game to play it, rather than clogging everything up with your negativity, you know, when it's just not needed, because it just doesn't help the situation. Of course, if you're being constructive, that's absolutely fine. But if you're just going to assassinate the game, then just, I don't know, get a refund. You know, get a refund. Yeah, right, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the chat. Patch Tuesday, hopefully. Oh, nice one, Jonathan. What do you mean for Fernbus? Yeah, ETS2 and ATS are my fave. Still enjoy Fernbus though. Yeah, absolutely. But this is the thing. Like you said to me the other day, Mr. Watto, we all enjoy different things, and that is the beauty about gaming. Is that just because one person doesn't like something, it doesn't mean to say that you can't enjoy it yourself, you know. And that's it. That's not pointed at you. That's just a general like observation, you know. We if people tend to enjoy a game and someone comes in and bashes it, then there's bias, isn't there, you know. I play on console only. Oh, okay, Jonathan. But let's just hope that let's just hope that we get these things in a swift manner. You know, that's what we want. Let's try and be positive about it. You know, I play on Xbox only for Fernbus. How are you finding that, Patrick? How is it? Are you running on the Series S or are you on the Series X? Because so far for the Series S, generally I'm for the source and the information that I've seen, evidently it's definitely not as plain sailing as what the PS5 and the Series X is. But you know, they did say that things were going to be a bit up and down, and of course at first when they showed the Series S footage, I was like, oh, here we go, we're going to show you this in the worst possible case. I was like, no, don't do that, show us the best and then the worst and compare. Allow people to compare, not show us the worst because it suits the way that you're doing it, because it just doesn't help anybody, does it? You know, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to show you in the game in its worst possible state for the Series S, but we're not going to show you the best possible state either. You know, so you know, it's definitely something that they could improve upon in the future, that's for sure. Funny old bunch, ain't they? Series X. I'm going to play Fernbus right now. Bye. Yeah, well, I appreciate you coming in, Patrick. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Round and around we go. Oh, man. Do you know, I wish as well that they would change the colour of the GPS route, like an overlay of like where you've been and where you've got to go. So maybe like blue to indicate that you've gone that way, and then orange for the route that the path that you haven't done yet. Because the overlapping of orange, sometimes it can be a bit confusing.
Grüezi, bin ich hier richtig? Danke.
Yeah, come on.
Grüezi,
aboard.
mein Ticket. Dankeschön.
Right.
Hi, Sie wollen bestimmt mein Ticket sehen. Auf geht's.
Absolutely. Oh, I wonder if they're all related. Perhaps. Fernbus, Fabian has said we will see more patches from now on for all versions of the game. He said this one in one of his videos for Fernbus. Oh, nice one. Okay. Well, let's how do we say this? For me, I'm going to take that with a pinch of salt, but for everybody else, you know, let's just hope, and let's hope that they do sort of keep the updates flowing in a timely manner. I want to see tourist bus information, to be completely honest, as well. You know, it's not just Fernbus. You know, it's collectively both games, because they have said that they'll both be brought up to speed relatively at the same time. So, when are you live on Fernbus again? I don't actually know, to be honest. It's a bit, you know, I do like to keep it varied here on the channel. It's whenever I feel like it, to be honest. There's no real schedule. You know, of course, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. You know, that way you won't miss it. If you, of course, are interested in the way that I show the game, and the way I talk about it, at least. The one thing that I do like about Fernbus and Tourist Bus, though, is the way that the buses handle. Now, if you want to dive deep into the fact that it calls itself a simulator, you are simulating driving a bus, but of course the physics, the mechanics, anything that you would deem a sort of hardcore sim are not there. So it's essentially an arcade bus simulator, if you want to call it that, because there just aren't enough settings and gameplay mechanics, physics generally available within the game to deem it a fully fledged sim, in my opinion. You know, but generally speaking, it's not too shabby. It's not too bad. Oh, not a problem, Patrick. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Is Fabian drunk when he does his videos? I don't know, Richard. I take it with a pinch of salt as well. You're not the only one. Yeah, it's what we just gotta gauge it as it comes. I think that's the safest way to do it. Just to gauge it as we get the information, and of course, if the information doesn't come, then, you know, it may start to cause a few problems between here and down the line. Will support is coming. What do you mean? What? Force feedback? And I don't think Fabian's drunk. I think he's just high on life. I think he's just got such a... He is just... This is the one thing that really aggravates me about Fabian. He is just so laid back, you know, and it's... Sometimes it does make me wonder whether he is in the right job. You know, but maybe to do what he does, you have to approach everything the way that he does. Because, I mean, if he took... What happened there? if he took everything that everybody said to heart, I think it would be a very hard job for him. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was drunk, to be fair. He'd probably drinking his sorrows away, you know, dealing with the aggro and backlash of all the people that don't like their games, you know, buying expensive bottles of champagne with their money as they cry away. It's probably not the best thing to say, but you know, it's probably true at the same time. Oh, never a dull moment. Oh, goodness me. He's just a funny character, isn't he, Fabian? He's just a funny character. Yeah. Oh, well. Let's pull up over here.
Sie sehen auch den Wald vor lauter Bäumen nicht wahr?
Oh. Well, thank you for your observation there, passenger. Yeah, force feedback. Nice one. Nice one. Fabian is very cool. Every video he does. Yeah. Do you know, I think that he does try his best. I mean, at the end of, oh man, he does try his best to of course provide, you know, the best quality video or experience he can to sell his product, you know, or their product. You know what I mean? That's his job essentially. But you know, sometimes it definitely shows. You know. A lot of information to retain. It's not an easy task making videos and streaming. You know, sometimes there are things that you forget, and sometimes there are things you forget to mention, and you know, you kind of kick yourself afterwards because you're like, well, damn it, I should have said that, or you know, or maybe you delivered it in such a way that, you know, you may question and analyze yourself afterwards because it may be perceived in a different way than the way that you communicated it, you know. I've done that so many times. It's definitely a hard thing to do. But of course, general improvements, things that I would like to see in the future, the environment very much, you know, dialed up, you know, lived in. I'd also like to see more buses, maybe a few more services, things, you know, maybe they can adopt a few things which they implemented in, you know, tourist bus, like accepting orders perhaps, because that would definitely spice it up a little bit. Just a general consensus, because there's only so much driving that you can do. Anybody knows that, whether you're playing Euro Truck, Fernbus, Tourist Bus, Bus Sim, whatever. There's only so much driving you can do, and there's only so much of the same scenery and the same buses that you can essentially tolerate. You know, if they do bring out different countries, more countries to drive, then that would be cool. But of course, before they do that and charge us absurd prices for DLC, let's get the core elements working. Let's get it all fixed. Let's get Tourist Bus up to scratch. Let's get this game up to scratch. Get it to a suitable, playable state for everyone on every platform, and then they can focus on doing stuff like that. I think that's very important. Generally, very important. Subscribe to you like week. You drive everything. I appreciate it, Jonathan. Yeah, I like to drive everything. Yeah. But that's it. I mean, the core element of the channel, like, you know. I mean, I bought a flight stick and I've barely used that. I do need to get some flight sim stuff going as well. But, you know, I love the driving. I love the way that the buses handle, the trucks handle, you know, especially if you can use gears. You know, you imagine if they implemented a manual bus, you know, It's just stuff like that. It's what the people want. Give it to us, you know. It's what we want. Otherwise, we're just gonna nag and chew your ear off. That's essentially it. Let's pause a moment. Think it's because he is. Oh, think it's because he has his traffic density set to 100 all the time. Makes me laugh when he has built up cities with massive long traffic queues. Yeah, to be honest, like when I was playing Tourist Bus, I did the same thing, and there was like, you know, you got like the harbour. At the point of the harbour, there would just be a massive like flustercluck of traffic. The congestion was just mad. It never went anywhere. Meant last week. Console version can't have radio due to licensing. Wow. Well, that's a bit bizarre, isn't it? But then again, you know, I mean, radio is probably a small, minute thing. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people put their own music on anyway. You know, like I say, I go over on TikTok, as you know, Richard, and occasionally I stream a game from time to time, you know, and there it's beautiful because I can play music and play the sim games that I like at the same time and talk, whereas here on YouTube, due to licensing and copyright strikes and all that sort of stuff, I'm not actually able to do that. It's a shame, because I would love to be able to do that, you know, but it's one of those things, isn't it? Whoa. So even with the PC version, you do get a bit of stuttering here and there, frame rate drops. It's not very, I mean, optimization needs a bit of work. Definitely does. I'll also be showing more of the bus as well. I haven't played that in a little while, so keep an eye out over the weekend, because I think I'm going to stream a little bit more of the bus, possibly tomorrow. Possibly tomorrow. Yeah, that's it. Spotify. You know, Spotify's the way to go. Listen to some tunes, but of course, be careful if you're anything like me. I mean, I love my rock music, my you know, like my heavy metal music, and when I'm driving and listening to it, it definitely encourages aggressive driving. Not in the real world, you know, but simulation games, you just go a bit nuts, you know. Oh goodness me, reading the chat and driving, wouldn't recommend it. You have yours set to 70, 75, find a lot better with the traffic. Yeah, I mean, immersively, you know, without the traffic there, you know, it's quite boring, especially because there's no other buses. You don't see any other of your buses or anything like that. One thing that I wish that they did implement, and that's what I do like about Bus Sim 21, is that you do see your other buses on routes which you've assigned them to. You know, little touches here and there. That's what I say. Depends on what you expect from a busing sim. You know, whether you like the conventional ticket system, or whether you like the idea of this, of just picking people up and dropping people off, or, you know, tourist bus accepting orders and fulfilling those orders. You know, there's different ways, and I think that it's nice that you know, there's a variety, at least somewhat of a variety now, with busing sims for console. Anybody that is interested in Bus Sim 21 as well, there is an update coming out for that fairly soon. So hopefully that addresses a few problems, as I know that on the console side of things, it doesn't run very well. Flashbase FM, yeah. That's it. You're right, always Spotify. Family was impressed by the G20. Oh, goodness me. Oh, nice one. Nice one. I spend too much, but I mean, this wheel will be updated soon. You know, I've been looking in the market for getting a new wheel. I'm definitely gonna be changing up the way that I do things here. You know, it's hard because I want to make it look all nice and sound, and you know, it's a difficult one. It's expensive. It does cost a lot of money. You know, simming. DLC buses are now added as AI in the PC beta version. Oh, really? Slipknot music whilst driving on Fernbus. Yeah. Oh dear. Oh dear. Bit of Rammstein. Absolutely. But this is what it's all about. Like I say, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming in. You know, I know that you like these games, and I know that you like me showing them. But sometimes you just got to be in the mood for it, you know. We've all been there. But of course, if there is anything that you do want to see more of or see on the channel, let me know, and I'll try and cater for you guys. You know, I don't mind. But generally speaking, I appreciate each and every one of you. For being here, for subscribing, for liking, showing your support here on the channel. It's been a bit up and down at the moment. I do need to get a schedule put in to make it a little bit more frequent, and I do need to do a bit of extra work on the channel as well, but I'm just not very tech savvy, so it takes a little while, but I will get there. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. Got one on ice in case my daily. Nice one. Nice one. Have a sip of me drink a moment. Yeah, the G920. It's good. Well, the Logitech wheels aren't bad. You know, they are deemed, you know, like sort of amateur sort of level entry, like novice sort of entry for steering wheels, but generally speaking, I was quite impressed when I bought the G29. In fact, it served me well. There hasn't been a single simulation game that I've played where it's not been supported, you know, and it's always worked flawlessly, you know. So for me, the Logitech G29, it's a nice, I'd say medium sort of entry level to sim rigs, sim racing, whatever you want to call it. Of course, you can spend thousands on wheels, but the general thing that I've noticed with some of the more expensive wheels is that games like this, you know, or companies like TML, you know, and other companies as well, they don't generally support the more expensive wheels. You know, and if they do, then you don't get the full potential of the wheel. So you've got to kind of justify buying a ridiculously expensive wheel. You know, like if you're a proper simmer, you know, F1 or whatever, Formula 1 or whatever, you know, then you can justify it. But if you're just playing busing and trucking games, then you don't really need something that's fancy. You just need something that works and it has force feedback, because force feedback does make the difference. So hopefully they bring force feedback to this, because for the console at least, for the PC side of it, I can assure you that the game feels more planted when you've got force feedback. So I'll go into the options a minute, to the settings. So people probably aren't. Oh no, is it that one or is it game? I think it's game. Yes, it is game. So here's your force feedback option. So this, if they do implement force feedback, I hope that it's not force feedback like it was on Tourist Bus, where it was just heavy, you know, and I am really sort of anticipating that will probably be the case. Maybe if they've listened to what people were saying about Tourist Bus and the way that they didn't like how heavy the force feedback was there, hopefully if they do add it to the console version of Fernbus, that they've tuned it and tweaked it so it's not as heavy. But here you can you can really sort of dabble with it, you know, spring force and all that, and it does make the world of difference. You know, especially when it comes to handling. I feel that the more weight that you have on the wheel, generally the better the bus responds. Because you don't want it floaty, because you don't get a general feel. You want to at least know what you're doing, so it's all good. Which is the best wheel to get for £300? For 300 quid, you're probably looking at. I would say you're probably in the market for Logitech or Thrustmaster. You know, but someone invent a force feedback seat, please. Well, they do, Jonathan. It's called a motion platform. But sadly, yet again, a lot of games. This is the general thing when it comes to sim rig stuff. You know, you can have a motion platform, but if the game doesn't support your motion platform, then you know, what good is it? You can have eye tracking, but if the game doesn't support eye tracking, what's the point? You know, there are a lot of instances like that. Oh, look at the frame rate go. There are a lot of instances like that with a lot of games, and it is frustrating, you know. You can't deem yourself a simulator and not have force feedback for generic wheels. I mean, that's just something that is a must, you know. But fingers crossed, you know, everything gets ironed out, you know, and they continue with the support, and they continue with the communication, and the updates get accepted, submitted, and all in a timely manner. All in a timely manner. Oh, see, even the PC version has its faults. You know, there's still frame rate drops here and there. And you're gonna get it. You are gonna get it on the console version, no matter what system you're playing on. You know, there are going to be areas, unfortunately. For Xbox Series S. So, I noticed that the Thrustmaster, for a start, the Thrustmaster full metal shifter is better than the Logitech one, in my opinion. But I also noticed as well, if you're on console, Thrustmaster seem to support more accessories, you know, like handbrakes and all that kind of stuff. But it generally seems to be more expensive for those sorts of things. So you're probably looking at like, you know, a G920 or something like that, which is the Xbox equivalent of what I'm using. That's probably your best area to look at for the price. Optimistic about this one? What you mean? You're optimistic about buying Fernbus? Let me know your reasons, Jonathan. If it is, of course, optimistic about Fernbus. See, the sun is quite bright. Put my sunglasses on. Oh, wobble, wobble. I hate going off-road because it's got a mind of its own, this. Let's get to the next stop, and then that will be the end of the stream. So if you do have anything you know you want to add, anything that you do want to say, then let us know. But of course, if you do have any sort of questions, or you know, leave it down in the comments section. If you do have any views or anything that you really want to say about it, you know, fire away. Because I am generally intrigued, you know, and of the possibilities. This is one thing that, you know, generally does come up in topic of conversation quite a lot. These games have always had a lot of potential. The hype and the idea, it sounds fantastic probably on paper, but when it actually comes down to it, a lot of the stuff which we would like to see generally doesn't happen, you know, and that's it's quite sad, because these games do have a lot of potential. Absolutely. Oh, goodness me. But yeah, guys, like I say, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. If you did enjoy the stream, consider leaving us a cheeky like. If you are new here, you know what to do. Consider subscribing, only if you want to, I'm messing. But yeah, general verdict, you know, the console port could have been a lot better, but it could have been a lot worse, you know, and I think that the way that it's been ported over, I think the issues which have arose early doors, I believe will generally get fixed in a timely manner. Like we said, there is a patch on the way, which I would imagine is going to fix the more serious problems which people are facing. And of course, as people have mentioned in the stream, in the chat, you know, we'll support force feedback potentially coming. We will see. It's not for definite. We will have to find a little bit more information on that before we can kind of say, you know, it's happening. But yeah, thank you all for coming in. It's fantastic talking to you all. Fantastic meeting you, Jonathan. But until next time, you all take it easy. You all stay safe. And hopefully I'll catch you all in the next one. Take it easy, guys.